This is DJ.
And this is Ish.
And this is
Season 6 of Pero Let Me Tell You.
When you have multiple openings that have technical difficulties.
Yes.
So I don't know which version our listeners are going to get. So which version I'm going to listen to tomorrow.
Surprise, surprise.
There we go. There we go. Full circle moment. Full circle moment.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Is this how we're starting episode 275?
Yes, it is.
Well, everybody, welcome to episode 275.
Third time's a charm.
I am really tired this evening.
You are exhausted. Like, se te ve en la cara.
Yeah, I'm really tired. So, you know, I may be a little bit.
We'll see what happens.
We'll see how the night goes.
Listen, the last time you were like this exhausted looking was when, you know, como tú dices, the episode was almost live in Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah.
And it turned out okay.
I don't even know what we talked about in that episode.
I don't even think it was a language that people understood.
But there we were.
But we did it anyway, because that's what we do. We plow through.
So congratulations, everybody. It's fall.
It is.
The dollar store now has Valentine's Day decorations. Yeah. Ahorita we start skipping Christmas.
Oh, that's great.
I always tell you it's St. Patrick's Day. It's St. Patrick's Day. Ahorita we skip Christmas. We go from Thanksgiving. No, we go from Halloween to St. Patrick's Day.
That's it.
And that's it.
That's it.
Yeah, the fair is here. If you're from Miami, you know what that is. I know we complain about it every single year. We complained about it last week,
episode, yeah.
But I just can't take it. This whole like, my God, why? ¿Por qué estamos tan apurados?
Yeah, and you know who I blame?
Who?
Mariah Carey.
It's time. We were just talking before we started recording how, you know, I've made it clear in, you know, 275 episodes that while she's my favorite singer and I love all her music, I'm sort of over the whole Christmas shtick.
Yeah.
You know, because now people know her.
That's her shtick, yeah.
That's what they know her for. You know, not to mention her 18 number ones that are non-Christmas songs. But now people just, you know her for her Christmas music. So I'm there like all angry at the world. But anyway, you know, they've made a meme about her for years now of her like defrosting come Halloween. And you know, this year, she's been taking it head on, embracing it for a while now. Yeah. But this year, she literally did a video of coming out of ice.
Yeah. I mean,
and we were saying how she's like totally embraced that.
I love that she embraced it again. It's like you and I have said, like people don't understand that she has a sense of humor and that this is the sense of humor. I will say this, as much as I love that she's embraced it, I'm not fully impressed yet.
Why?
I'm going to be fully impressed after Christmas if she does the thing where she goes into the ocean.
She already did.
She did?
Don't you remember last year, the McDonald's campaign? It was her going back into the ocean.
Oh, I don't remember
that. Yes. Don't you remember last year she had the Mariah menu?
Yeah, I remember.
Or like a couple of years ago, she had the Mariah menu.
Yeah.
Right. It was her. Actually, no, it was her coming out of the ocean.
Okay, no, because you know the thing is that like, you know, she goes back into the water until next year. So this year I fully expect her, now that she's embraced the beginning of it, for her to like be like, bye darlings, and like walk into the ocean.
She did a video, a t-shirt that says it's time.
Oh, really?
Yes. And it says it's time. And I'm like, oh, I don't know.
I will say this, Mariah, I love you, but hold on to at least mid-November.
What?
Hold on to at least mid-November. I don't need it to be November 1st that she thaws.
Well, she's been doing it now for a while. Like,
no, I know, but I look, I'm okay with it being November, just not November 1st.
Well, I mean, listen, the rate we're going again, it's going to be it's going to be the kids are off from school. Let's decorate for
Let's
Christmas.
Bring Mariah out. Yeah.
You know, so whatever. Be merry, be jolly, drink, buy presents for Christmas. Speaking of presents, did everybody see that? Wait, what's the movie called? Not Hollywood Hopscotch. Mean Girls reunion.
I'm sorry. No. We're going to take a pause. What movie is Hollywood Hopscotch?
I don't know. It was not in my mind. Hollywood Hopscotch. And I'm like, as I was saying it, I'm like, what is Hollywood Hopscotch?
That totally sounds like something that would have been from like 1984 starring Jamie Gertz.
No, that sounds like something they would have done in New Girl.
Okay, yes, but I stand by my 80s movie
Okay,
reference.
who are we talking to the other day that said that they can't stand Zooey Deschanel?
I mean, that's a lot of people, but
Okay, why would anybody hate Zooey Deschanel?
I get it. I like her, but I understand.
But she's such good energy. At the end of when I vibra.
Okay, I understand, especially when New Girl first came out, that she was doing the whole like adorkable thing and blah blah. I can understand how eso cayó pesado. So if that was the beginning and end of your Zooey Deschanel experience, I get it. Like I understand how that was like we're done.
I love Zooey Deschanel, and I love New Girl.
Well, because it's completely unhinged as a show.
Yeah, it's great. Listeners, if you haven't watched New Girl, watch New Girls. All seasons
it's aged well.
All seasons are airing on Hulu.
Yes, they are.
Well, I mean, it's aged well, but it's not really old.
No, but there are some shows that you watch, like even 4 years later, and you're like, that was definitely a product of its time. But I feel like it's a little classic-y.
A little classic-y. So, actually, speaking of shows...
I was going to say, speaking of classic-y.
So, I mean, obviously, we have to talk about the big elephant in the room with the passing of Matthew Perry.
Oh.
That hurt.
I don't think I'm still over it.
That really, really hurt. And, you know, I don't know, like, it's so... I mean, people, we have this conversation every time a celebrity dies, and it's somebody that meant a lot to you. And, you know, people are always like, oh, but you don't know the person. Mm-hmm. But it's like these people become such big roles in your life, whether it's an actor or a singer or whatever. And, like, for example, Matthew Perry, I mean, he's Chandler.
Yeah.
And these people become such a big part of your, like, existence, and you think about certain times when you were watching the show, or you were watching him, or you were laughing at a joke, or who you were with, or where you were at, and it takes you back to a place in time.
And it's a show that's never gone away.
And it's never gone away, and you could relate to them. And then, you know, in his particular case, Chandler being is like a riot, you know. So that's why when these people pass away, it's so impactful.
Yeah.
And you know, Friends, for all intents and purposes, I feel that Friends, the show, is this phenomenon. I mean, obviously it is a phenomenon, but it's this thing that, like...
It's never stopped being a phenomenon.
In our minds, they're friends. Well, they are friends.
They are. But that's the thing.
But in our minds, it's like, they're friend. They're the friends.
Right. But then in reality, they are. So, of course...
They are in reality, but in our minds, it takes on an even bigger role, because we sort of forget in a way that what we saw was fiction.
And not six people hanging out.
They're all real friends, and I think they've shown that throughout the years that they really are there for each other. But we sort of forget that, like, that was not real.
That their names are Courtney, Matthew, David, Matt, Lisa, and Jennifer.
Yes.
Right.
Right. And again, because that show is such a big part, and as you said, it's never gone away, so you still watch it, you put it on in the background. That's why I feel that with that show, there was so much interest for there to be a reunion.
Right.
Because there's other shows, like, for example, Everybody Loves Raymond. That's a great show. It's from the same time as Friends. I don't see a lot of people, like, being like, we really want that Everybody Loves Raymond reunion.
Yeah, it's not the same.
Right? But with them, everybody wanted a reunion. And I thought their reunion was perfection.
Right.
It was a retrospective. Because what did you want? You wanted to see them six together. That's what you wanted.
Right. But I didn't want to see the characters.
No.
I just wanted to see them.
You wanted to see them.
Yeah.
Because you wanted to know that they were okay.
Yeah.
That you wanted to see them together now.
Yeah.
Right? So it was a huge, huge, huge loss and huge blow. Like, wow, there goes one of them.
Yeah,
the first one.
Look, he's only 10 years older than us. Mm-hmm. So, like, that to me was like, oh, shit, he's a contemporary, right? I mean, he's young. Did you see his last Instagram photo that he posted?
The one in the hot tub?
That he's in the hot tub?
Yeah.
I mean, that's up there with Lisa Lopez, Left Eye, and, you know, the documentary.
Yeah.
Like, wow, that's some creepy shit.
Yeah.
He was also, you know, the thing with him is, most people are like friends, but I know you and I also know him from Growing Pains. You know,
the first time I ever saw Matthew Perry was Sandy on Growing Pains.
Sandy on Growing Pains, yeah.
Which, by the way, that clip sort of went viral.
Oh, it did?
Like 2 weeks before he died.
The one where he dies?
When when Carol Seaver. So for many of us that are our age, that are in our 40s. Yeah. So the first time I ever saw Matthew Perry was on Growing Pains. So for those of you who may not know, Growing Pains was a really, really popular show that was from the mid 80s to the early 90s. Where Kirk Cameron came around and all that. Very, very popular show that we loved. And Matthew Perry played for a couple of episodes Carol, one of their daughters, the boyfriend.
Right.
And he was really funny and quirky.
He was Chandler. I mean,
he was Chandler. Actually, you know what? Shannon was the original Chandler.
Yeah.
He played a character called Shannon. And that's a very known episode of Growing Pains because he dies in a car accident.
A drunk driving accident, right?
Yes, in a drunk driving accident. But I don't think he was the one who was drunk. Was he the one who was drunk?
That's what I don't remember right now.
But anyway, he dies. So there's a scene where the parents and Carol get back from the hospital, and Mike it comes and tells him, hey, they just called from the hospital and Sandy died. Right. And she was like, but he was okay,
Yeah,
and then it's
a hard scene.
It's a really it's pretty intense for like a sitcom,
especially for a sitcom at the 80s because they were all young. I mean, yeah.
And that's the first time I saw Matthew Perry.
Yeah.
It was Shannon.
Sandy.
Sandy from
Growing Pains.
From Growing Pains.
Yeah.
And then he became Chandler Bing.
Yeah.
So what are some of your favorite Chandler moments?
Oh my God, all of them. I mean, I literally started wearing like the bowling shirts in high school because of Chandler Bing.
Could you be wearing any more bowling shirts?
Chandler's just so great. You're asking me to find my favorite Chandler moment.
I know my favorite Chandler moment.
And I don't know what my favorite one is.
Okay, there's a lot. But
that's why I'm like, I'm overwhelmed with thoughts right now.
There's two in particular.
Okay.
There's two. The first one that I love because it's classic Chandler. He could say a lot by saying very little.
Yes.
Is in the episode, which is one of the last episodes of Friends, to furthermore show that show never jumped the shark. It was funny till the very end.
Yeah.
One of my favorite episodes of Friends is the episode when Ross gets a tan.
Oh, was that the sun?
that Ross comes in tanned. And I forgot if it was Monica or whatever. And they're like, where did you get that tan? And Chandler goes, was that the sun? The way that he says that is so
it's timing.
Chandler.
It's the timing.
Can we just talk about that episode, how funny it is? You know what else goes on in that episode, right?
No.
In that episode, so it's the storyline of Ross getting a tan.
Right.
A 4! Oh, no,
yeah.
2 2s.
That's when he tries to get sprayed.
That is also the episode where Jennifer Coolidge comes in
Don's class.
Yes, as their ex-roommate. She's like, she tells Chandler, you look positively ghastly. And he's like, well, isn't that a treat? And when she's like, can you believe it? I've never taken any professional dance classes. Like, that episode of Friends is a riot. Right. I have to tell you, I mean, I've said this before. I liked Friends in the second half more than the first half.
Well, you also came to Friends late.
I didn't. I came to Friends in the first season, and then I stopped watching it because of wrestling. But then I started watching it again. I just think that the second half of the show was better because the characters were developed, and especially
which sitcoms don't get a chance to do anymore.
But especially Monica and
Ross.
And Ross.
Yeah.
Because Monica and Ross at the beginning of the show I thought were annoying, especially Monica. And Ross with Marcel with the monkey.
Again, you have to get. This is why we say all the time, like shows nowadays are not given a chance to develop. And I think that if Friends came out now, it'd be canceled after maybe a year and a half.
But I mean, like Chandler,
only because they wouldn't have been able to
Chandler
develop.
and Phoebe were always the same character.
But even those two characters developed.
Well, they developed because they were on for 10 years.
Right.
But the essence of who they were was
always
same.
there. Yeah.
But Monica and Ross, for the love of God, like at the end of the show, like in the last half, they were my favorite.
Really?
Like in the beginning, it was Chandler and
Phoebe.
And Phoebe, like Rachel and Joey were never my favorite. At the beginning, it was definitely Phoebe and Chandler.
Right.
But Monica and Ross, like, I mean, I just can't get over the thing with her hair, and that was in the last season.
It's a treat for the ears and the eyes.
Yeah. When she's like, look at my brain. And then, of course, with Ross, it's my sandwich.
Unagi.
My sandwich. And that episode, the last Thanksgiving episode, when they find out they're adopting the twins, when they're stuck in the hallway. Because in that Thanksgiving episode, Monica and Chandler stayed to do the whole meal, and nobody would help them. Okay. Because Phoebe and Rachel went to enter Emma in the Miss America Darling contest.
Yes.
And then Joey and Ross went to go see the Knicks, I think. And then none of them helped them.
So they locked them out.
And they locked them out in the hallway. You don't know that episode? That episode is a riot. And then all this shit goes on in the hallway, and Monica and Chandler don't let them in. So that's also the episode with the floating heads. And they tear off Ross's pocket. It's a riot. Like that whole back and forth in the hallway. You don't know that episode.
I don't know that episode. Not well, no.
Oh my God, it's so funny.
Like I know I've seen it, but I just don't know.
But yeah, I mean, it's just really, really tragic. So,
yeah. And to his credit, though, I will say, he was very open about his struggles, and I think, you posted something actually where it's like, he had hope that when his time comes, Friends obviously is going to be remembered, but that people also remember all the things he did. And he started, what is it, the Matthew Perry Rehabilitation House, I think is what it's called.
Which was his house.
It was his house?
It was his house, and he donated it to the foundation.
See, I didn't know.
It's a halfway house.
Yeah. So again, it's somebody who, a lot of times you get people, it's like, oh, put your money where your mouth is. And I think he did. I will say 100%, I still don't fully believe that he's gone. I know he is, but I'm just saying, like, it's whenever I hear something or I see something new where it's like, oh, the cast of Friends releases a statement, it kind of just hits me all over again that he's dead. And it's just like, oh, like Matthew Perry.
We lost
gone.
Bob Saget last year. Now Matthew Perry. It's like, oh
man.
The year before that, we lost Alan Thicke.
Coño, yeah.
Yeah.
Before that, Betty White.
Yeah, but I mean, the
Betty White was old. She was up there.
Betty White, you knew it was coming.
See, TikTok, yeah.
You knew it was coming. But these were people that were all relatively young. Or not 50, old enough.
54 is young. Shit.
But yeah, so rest in humor and peace and power, Matthew Perry. Yeah. Made a lot of people laugh.
Yes. Could that news be any sadder?
Yeah. Yeah. It's that place. Oh, you know which one I also love? I love so much the episode where him and Monica come back from the honeymoon, and they're saying stories on how they met this couple.
The honeymoon friends?
Yeah, and they were like, oh my God, the honeymoon friends. And it was like one joke, another joke, and then Monica was like, oh, and Chandler was so funny, like one joke after another joke, and then Chandler was of Monica, and you had all these insightful questions. But then after, when the people were not calling them back,
right,
they were like, Monica was like, oh, because it was one joke after another joke, and Chandler was like, was that a question? Like that whole back and forth on it is so funny, so funny.
Oh, Chandler. Well. You know what? We can always revisit him over and over and over again. I kind of wanted to bring something up that I saw posted recently, and I don't know how recent it is that he said it, but I think it's something that I'm going to start to take on as my own personal mantra. So, you and I have talked about a lot on this show about how people, especially nowadays with social media, I think they all live in their own little worlds and their own realities. And so I am going to, moving forward, take on the same exact thought process as Keanu Reeves. Keanu Reeves recently said, I'm at that stage in life where I stay out of discussions. Even if 1 + 1 = 5, you're right. Have fun.
Yeah.
I think that is one of the most insightful. Now, granted, it's because he left the Matrix. That's why he has this much, intelligence. I think it's one of the best things I've ever heard. You know what I mean? Well, now, with that said, I think there's certain discussions that you shouldn't just kind of let people slide, right? I mean, certain things you should pipe up. But I think what he's saying is like, look, I'm going to pick my battles. I'm not going to stand around and just, for every little stupid thing a person says, nitpick. And I was like, I've never related more to Keanu Reeves in my life. Like,
haven't I told you that is what I live my life by? I tell you this all the time. I pick my battles.
Yeah.
Every day, every second, every moment of my existing, I'm having an internal struggle in my mind picking my battles. And as far as that, I mean, that's something I do too. We talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
I don't really engage with people online. You can't. You just can't. So it's like, 2 + 2 = 5. Go. I'm not changing your opinion, and we don't live in a day and age where it's about facts anymore. Right. So if you can't change your opinion, if you can't change somebody's opinion based on facts, how
What's
are
left?
you going to have any type of discourse?
Right.
And you can't have a discussion or a debate when the other person's take on that is fiction.
Right.
You just can't. Like, what are you going to argue about? So, yeah. Like, I've said this, I talked about this a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about the war, now with the Palestinians and Israel.
Yeah.
And what did I say? I said, a lot of people have called me and asked me what I thought about this. And I said, as somebody who's read about this for years, I know enough to know that my hot take on it is not going to mean anything, and it's not going to change anybody's mind.
Right.
And this is a really complicated issue. It is probably the most complicated conflict in human history, if you will.
That's fair.
Right? So nothing that is so complicated is going to have a simple one sort of swipe answer.
Yeah, I can't give you a soundbite.
So I'm not going to get into this. I'm not going to get into this with anybody, because you're going to think whatever you want to think, and you're going to believe whatever you want to believe, and that's just the world we live in. Boom.
Right. Yeah. No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I just saw that and I was like, wow, I relate to John Wick now.
Yeah, but and then that falls under so many.
It's sad.
So many things, like for example. Today I was watching, because I told you that my new favorite, well, not my new favorite thing, but I love watching on Reels on Instagram, things having to do with food and recipes and stuff like that.
You have ruined that for me, by the way.
Right.
Ruined.
And so now I'm a masochist, so whenever I see whenever I see like a really nice food video, like well edited, well shot,
right.
I'm like, here comes the hate. So today this lady was making a cornucopia out of bread.
Oh, that sounds pretty.
Right. So she like did the dough and she rolled it up in a way to make it look like a cornucopia, and then she stuffed it with like fruit.
Okay.
Right. But in order to get the cornucopia shape, she had to like get aluminum for her. In order for her to get the cornucopia shape, she had to get like aluminum foil.
Okay.
Right. And shape it like a triangle or like
a
cornucopia, and then she made balls of aluminum and like stuffed it, so whatever, to give
it shape, right.
And the lady showed how she did this.
I can't think of anything more benign than what you described.
So the very first comment, aluminum has been proven to be really bad. Cooking with aluminum has been proven to be really bad, and you're setting a bad example for people and possibly showing people how they can become poisoned and bad for their health.
That was the first comment.
That was the very first comment.
First one.
The first one.
Here's the thing. I guarantee you that person who made that comment, as we have seen on our posts, doesn't even follow that person.
No. And then...
So they're just literally sitting there waiting to troll.
There is a recipe that every single time that there's a recipe where it's like, fatty, fried.
Right,
maybe it's like a very...
delicious.
Maybe it's a very decadent dessert.
Right.
Every single time. The very first comment will be, never fails, Americans eating like they have free healthcare. See, now it's a joke. Now there were people that comment, it's like, so who's going to comment Americans eating like there's free healthcare? Like if it was something fresh and new. Right? So, that all ties into that. You just can't engage with people like that. I'm like, whatever. 2 + 2 = 5.
Yeah.
Tú di lo que tú quieras decir. I mean, you're not basing it on facts, so facts don't matter anymore.
So what have I got left?
Right. So, yeah. So, I agree with Neo.
And again, Neo has seen things.
Neo
so he
has
knows
been in the Matrix.
He knows that of which he speaks.
Neo is the bomb. Do you remember when I thought I was Neo?
Yeah.
I mean, this was a phase, listeners. I really did have a phase where I thought I was Neo Anderson.
Wasn't that your email address?
It was Neo
1015
at AOL.com. And that was my screen name too.
Yeah.
And I did a whole website called worldofdarian.com.
That's right.
That was based on the Matrix.
That's right. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah. Like, I thought I was Neo Anderson. I thought I was in the Matrix.
You know what? Maybe you were.
Maybe I was.
Maybe you were.
But who's
to say?
Who's gonna? Yeah.
Who's to say otherwise?
Right.
I don't know. Prove you wrong.
Right.
Prove.
And
you
when
wrong.
I would listen to the soundtrack, I would pretend to be him in that scene in the elevator lobby. You know, the epic scene, the iconic scene, and I'm like, yeah, I'm Neo Anderson.
That is such a good soundtrack.
It is.
The first one.
That movie's so good. That movie is so good, and that movie holds up so well. You put that movie on now, and nobody's going to tell you that movie's over 20 years old.
I don't need any of the other ones. Like, the first one is perfect unto itself.
You mean the second and the third one, and then now the fourth one?
Right. Look, I'm not talking about the other one. I'm saying if you remove all of it and you just watch the first one is a complete movie.
Yeah.
It's a beginning, a middle, and end. That's it. That's all I need.
Yeah.
Because nowadays, whenever you have everything that was a trilogy. Everything now is a trilogy. But what that means is that they don't give you a beginning, middle, and end in the first one because they're like, oh no, but there's a second one coming and a third one. I'm like, yeah, but I paid for this one.
You know what I was thinking the other day? Because I was talking to somebody and we were talking about well, you and I have spoken about before about how like summer action movies now they're all IP. They're either DC or Marvel, or that meme that has going around that it says, "Oh, it's been 2 weeks and there hasn't been a new Spider-Man. Is there something wrong in Hollywood?" You know, it's the same rehash of the same thing over and over again. That, as I say, that you're a fanboy, you have fatigue about it.
I am so fatigued.
I love Star Wars, and I'm like, a new Star Wars movie. I'm like, maybe one day if I don't have a lot to do, I'll sit down and watch it once it's on digital.
Yeah,
like
and
streaming.
even then, because now you have 17 Star Wars shows.
Anyway, I was telling, we were like talking, going back and forth,
right?
And you know, we're like, obviously Stallone and Schwarzenegger are too old to do with it. And I was thinking, you know what we need? You know what to me was like the ultimate summer blockbuster in terms of like it had a little bit of everything. And I feel that it often gets overlooked was the Lethal Weapon movies.
Those were summer movies?
Yeah. Because those movies had the action, you know,
had a little bit of sexiness.
But they were funny.
They had humor.
They were funny.
Yeah, you're
like
right.
Bad Boys, like that type of movie. Like I can't think of.
But those movies don't exist anymore. Those movies don't exist anymore. Middle budget, like adult comedies don't exist anymore. The first ever Lexus. Like those like sexy thrillers. Those don't exist anymore. When was the last Basic Instinct type of movie? You don't get like the Basic Instincts, the Fatal Attractions, the even like the Indecent Proposal. Like you don't get those movies anymore. Like those adult sexy movies, that doesn't exist anymore. Not at a big budget level. Maybe you get one that comes out on Hulu or on Netflix, but not like a big deal movie.
Right. Do you remember when Disclosure with Demi Moore came out?
Oh,
an Indecent Proposal.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
This
like those
is
movies.
No ordinary love. Those were good movies.
To this day, that's why I want to roll around in dollar bills.
In dollar bills?
I can't afford them.
Not the Benjamins?
Well, I'm not Robert Redford.
No, you're not. Anyway, but yeah, it's like we need a Lethal Weapon.
Yeah.
A Die Hard.
Yes. But if Die Hard comes out, we have to release all of them at Christmas.
So do you think it's a Christmas movie?
It is a Christmas movie. It is.
It's become a Christmas movie.
Okay, it is a movie that takes place at Christmas. Therefore, it is a Christmas movie. It's not a movie about Christmas.
Right, but now it's become a Christmas movie because now it gets played during Christmas.
Yes.
And people watch it during Christmas.
Right, yes, correct, yeah.
And you know what's funny? I remember I saw that movie opening night.
Really?
I did. I saw it in University 7, Womeco University 7 in front of FIU. I saw it opening night or opening weekend.
Okay.
Just like I saw Batman, the first one, opening night.
I did that too, yeah.
I saw it at Miller Square, Miller and 137th movie theater. And I couldn't remember what time of year it was. And I'm like, oh, maybe this movie came out in December. Because you know that in December they do have big movies that come out at the end of the year.
Yeah. Summer
but it came out in the summer. It came out in like July.
Really?
Yeah, it came out like July of 88.
Oh.
Yeah. Which made me think how I was like not a teenager. How the hell did I get into Die Hard? Because I went to see Die Hard with my brother and his friend.
Because your brother was how old at the time?
My brother was like 17, 18.
That's why. Children under 18 not admitted without an adult. If he was 18, you went in.
If it was 1988, my brother was an 18.
Oh, okay.
Was anybody really checking?
No. Okay, fair enough. But I'm saying, like, because your brother and you, there's a little bit of a gap. So, like, if he was 18 and you went with him, then that's how you got in.
I was like 8 or 9 years old. But I went. So, yeah. Oh, yeah. Did you go trick-or-treating?
I did not go trick-or-treating. I didn't do anything on Halloween because Jose was having a flare-up. And so we stayed home.
Happy Halloween!
Yes, that was more trick than treat. But how about you?
I went trick-or-treating with the kids, and there was a bunch of kids that went with one of our friends.
Does he still like trick-or-treating? Like,
that's a good question. So this year, he seemed a little like, I'm too old to go trick-or-treating.
And he's not. He's like...
He's not even 10.
We were trick-or-treating until, like, freshman year.
Of college. Because I can think of right now a picture that we have in your house, at your parents' house.
That was 10th grade?
That was 11th grade.
That was 11th grade?
Yes. So he at first was like, I'm too old to be trick-or-treating.
Right.
Because right now Tristan's going through that whole like, I'm too old for this. That all kids go through this.
Yeah.
But the moment he put on his banana costume and he started getting candy, he was like, oh my God, I want more candy. And then he's like, I want to eat my candy. And, whatever.
So he wasn't too old for it at that moment.
No.
Right.
No. But yeah. It's funny because I was thinking of how trick-or-treating, I have to say that with my family, it was weird because as you know, like knowing my family, we're close, but there's some things we weren't close for about. Mm-hmm. And trick-or-treating was somebody that we would all go trick-or-treating. My parents, my grandmother, my aunt, my uncle, my cousins. We would all go trick-or-treating around the block.
Like as a group?
Yes. My grandmother loved trick-or-treating.
Aww.
So
would she dress up?
She didn't dress up, but she loved the trick-or-treating.
Okay. No, porque tal vez se ponía like una cosita.
And like the trick-or-treat, But, those are the things that stay with you, that you have memories about. And, we go trick-or-treating every year as a group. We go with our friend and their kids. And, it's fun. It's fun. I love it. I love it.
Was her older daughter there or no? For trick-or-treating?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But, she's now a teenager.
No, but that's why I asked. Because, again...
No. Her and her teenage friends were totally down with it.
Oh, okay. Because, again, once you hit teenager, you don't know which way it's going to go.
Speaking of we're recording today at your house. We're not recording at our regular studio.
Yes.
Your house looks very nice with all this fall decoration.
You see?
Brought to you by the dollar store.
Most of it, yes. Or my mother.
Or your mother.
My mother literally will buy things and I'll just get to her house and she'll be like, ay, mira, fui a Marshall el otro día y esto estaba lo más lindo, estaba 30%. Compré 3, uno para ti, uno para mí, uno para tu hermana. I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm decorating.
Yeah, I guess this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I wanted to mention, now that we were talking, like many times.
About trick-or-treat?
Actually, you know what movie, before I talk about it, a movie I saw recently and I recommend to our listeners with Jennifer Lawrence, No Hard Feelings.
I've been wanting to see it.
It's really funny.
Yeah?
Yeah, you know what? It's really, really funny. And I was like a little bit concerned because I was like,
what?
Does she end up with the 19-year-old?
Well, he's legal, so it's okay.
Right, but I was like...
but the thing with her is that she's older than I think she is.
No, but in the movie, she's
her age.
She's 33, 34.
Oh, okay, because when I see her, I think she's like 25. And I know she's not.
Right.
But...
No, in the movie, and that's a whole thing about it.
Oh, okay.
She's
playing her age, essentially.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's playing her age, and...
Okay.
Yeah, it's really, really funny. I recommend it for those of you who...
I will see it. What's it on? What streamer?
I don't know. I just watch things. But it's called No Hard Feelings with Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah.
It's Thanksgiving again, and one of the many things we're thankful for is farmers that provide us with food and sustenance, especially our Florida dairy farmers. From mashed potatoes to mac and cheese to pumpkin pie, milk, cream, butter, or cheese makes all your Thanksgiving recipes better. Thankfully, incorporating dairy in your family's favorites is easy. Just visit floridamilk.com or lechedeflorida.com for easy and delicious recipes. Happy Thanksgiving from your Florida dairy farmers, and pero let me tell you. Have you heard of Keith Lee?
No.
So Keith Lee is a TikToker who has, I don't know, 1.5 to 2 million viewers.
Only?
Or followers. And he goes around reviewing restaurants.
Okay.
And because he's so popular at this point, he usually will order. He'll have somebody of his friends or family pick up the food, and he'll eat it in his car.
Okay, so that they don't see him coming.
Right.
Okay.
And then he'll review the restaurant. And he's one of these people that, like, he'll even say, if I didn't like it, maybe I just didn't order the right thing. Maybe they were having an off day. Don't go on Twitter and give these people hate and whatever.
Okay.
So he recently went to Atlanta, and there were 2 restaurants that he went to, and one of them didn't want to give him service. They were like,
they knew who he was, obviously.
They didn't know who he was. Apparently they didn't. But for whatever reason, they were like, we're disinfecting the restaurant, like cleaning and whatever. And there was another restaurant that was like, we just don't do takeout. Now, each restaurant has gone on to have to give an official statement as to this, because he talked about it on his Instagram. Each restaurant had to give an official statement.
Wow.
And one of them, I think, is owned by one of the girls from the Real Housewives of Atlanta. Okay. So she had to go on and talk about it as well.
Okay.
So, when I thought about this, I thought... And
how long has this guy been doing this?
He's been doing it for a while, but he has a big following. Okay. I thought about what, you and I have sort of talked about before.
Right.
Are we giving these people way too much power?
In what sense?
That, you're going to either go or not go to a restaurant because of some video content creator, or you're going to, like, give hate to a restaurant that maybe was closed or whatever, was not operational when this person went.
Just because this person showed up and they weren't ready.
I mean, are we giving too much power to these people to influence us? Because you know how my opinion on
food bloggers.
Yeah. And, I think that most of them are paid.
Yeah.
So, which there's nothing wrong to it.
Look, everybody's got to make a living.
Everybody's got to make a living. You got to hustle. You do what you do.
Right.
But most of them receive some type of kickback compensation or whatever. So that's
already muddying the water.
First red flag. Yeah. A lot of them review restaurants that are out of touch. A lot of them maybe order things that maybe I wouldn't order. I don't know. I feel very weary. So that's more of my question, like, or topic of conversation. Are we giving these people that go to places and review things way too much power? I mean, look, this is the modern day, like, when you would hear of the...
Like the Zagat.
Yeah, like the person who was the undercover food critic.
Right, for the Times or whatever.
Right, and then write an article about you. Right, but now they do it on Instagram, and now they make a brand for themselves. And I'm always very weary about it. If anything, I use those food bloggers for ideas of restaurants, but not for the review.
Like, don't go there.
Sort of like, I don't go to Yelp to read reviews. I go to see pictures of food.
Okay, that's fair.
Like, are we giving them way too much power?
I think there's...
Are we letting influencers influence us?
I think that sounded like something she would have done on Sex and the City. I think you're right.
Oh my God, I did sound like Carrie Bradshaw. How horrible.
Yeah, of all the people to sound like. So like you were saying, in the past you had food reviewers and you would go to the arts section of a newspaper and read, their review of what they ate and the ambiance and blah, blah, blah. I think, and I may, at the risk of sounding, I don't want to sound elitist, but at the risk of doing it, I think the difference is that at least back then, these were people who, through XYZ, either training or they were former chefs or what have yous, they kind of approached it from a perspective of an actual review, right? They had the experience, they had the background, they had the knowledge. Whereas I think nowadays, for all intents and purposes, anybody can become a food blogger.
Yeah.
Like, all you need is a phone. That's it. Literally, that's it. And as I've told you before, a lot of times when you see these pages, they have 1,000, the two easiest Instagram things to have pages for is food and hot girls. Mm-hmm. Right?
Everybody loves them.
Everybody loves to look at both, right? Like, it doesn't matter. So there's no credential.
Hot tits and hot dogs.
Yeah. It's TNA, baby. Tits and apples. But there's no criteria. And I'm not saying that we have to gatekeep things, right? I think there are probably people out there who have a phenomenal palate and maybe can't get into a prestigious school, and this is an outlet, and I think that's great. But I think what happens is, to your point, now anybody with a phone comes out, has X amount of followers, and is like, oh, this tastes like dog food. And that's it. You're done. Mm-hmm. That's not right. At least this guy, from what I'm understanding, says, hey, he sounds like he does it like,
no,
he
actually is like really legit, and he does give disclaimers. Yeah, and he's like, don't go and hate on their page and all that. But the point is that even though he says that, people still go and do.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You can't control people. I mean, listen. The recipe comments is evidence of you can't control people's stupidity.
But you know what, though, when I thought about that,
I do wonder how much power they do have in reality, because as I've told you this before, social media is one thing, right? But I can go online right now and talk about how, and have 1 billion followers, right? They're probably global, number one. So there's that. And then I go talk about some place here in Miami that was, horrible. How much of an impact is that really going to have?
They do have an impact, because look at, for example, I forgot his name from Barstool Sports, right? Mm-hmm. The one that goes about critiquing pizza. There's places that have done really badly after he gave them a bad review, and there's places that have completely exploded after he gave them a good review. Mm. And most recently, for those of you who didn't watch it, Barstool Sports is, I forget his name, that he goes out and he reviews pizza.
That's all he does is pizza.
Yeah, and he went to this pizza place in Boston, and he was reviewing the place outside, and he didn't like it, and the owner came and defended his pizza, right? And he was like, if you don't like the pizza, just leave, just go, but don't sit here and stand in front of my pizza place and talk all this shit about my business. And they had a huge fight live on his Instagram, and it went viral. And, when I read all of this, it makes me think of actually us with Ping Pong Pollo.
Yeah.
Because there's just people that you're never going to make happy.
Well, there are people who leave the house looking for something bad that day.
For example, one of the comments we get the most from Ping Pong Pollo, I mean, and obviously it's not comparable in the sense that, we're very lucky with the Ping Pong Pollo. We've gotten only love. But one of the comments we get a lot from people are like, oh, your Korean sauce is great, but it needs to be hotter.
Right.
I say, I'm like, I need to make Korean sauce that is for normal people, like mass consumption. It needs to have a little bit of heat, but it can't be like this really, really hot, spicy thing. So I'm like, okay, fine. So then after so many times of people asking for this, I now make a super duper 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 spicy version of this sauce. That is freaking fire.
It's still not hot enough.
People want it hotter. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to have you sign a waiver when you have our wings. So this is as hot as it's going to get. Right. And I make the sauces, and I have to taste them as I make them, and I'm going to pass out making this fucking sauce. Right? So this is as hot as it goes.
Hasta aquí llegó.
And it's like, but people are never satisfied.
Right.
They're never satisfied. So I think back to like the food blogger. It's like, okay, maybe you went on an off day. Maybe you didn't like what you had. I mean, how many times do you go to a restaurant that you have something, you're like, this wasn't that great. Right. But then you like some other things.
Right.
So that's why I think you have to take those things as a grain of salt. Like, as I said, I look at them to get restaurant ideas, but not to whether something's going to be good or bad.
Well, that's also subjective. I mean, I think historically speaking, like, I can't speak to you about what's good or bad. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Even you and I, who know each other's tastes very well, like I can pretty much gauge if you're gonna like a song, a movie, whatever. But at the end of the day, until you sit down and actually consume something, I don't think you know what you like or don't like. And I think that just speaks, to a bigger problem, which is, why would you not go out and experience something for yourself? Mm-hmm. And I think, and again, look, I'm gonna sound like the old man in the room. I think it kind of ties even back to like the whole thing of how nowadays, kids they all do it. They don't play games. They just sit and watch other people play the game. Well, if you're not experiencing it, then how do you know if it's a good game or not, or a fun game, right?
Right. You know that, speaking of that, there was something that a meme that I saw today, because right now, the Cheesecake Factory was been in like headlines and social media because of what we talked about last week. about the girl who was like, "Oh, I don't go to the Cheesecake Factory," and it went viral.
That dumb bitch. Yeah.
Right. There's another meme that went viral that's been everywhere that said something along the lines of like, actually, I saved it because I wanna say it correctly.
Okay.
Because it was so funny and so true. It's funny.
Lay it on me.
I can never find like the saved stuff. It says, I bet if the Cheesecake Factory had a grass wall and a neon sign, you all will go and eat that up.
Damn right.
It's true.
It's true.
And then the comments were great. The comments were like, so somebody comments, and add hookah and call it the factory, and they're going to go regardless what the food tastes like. I'm like, yep.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
You know, they should almost do like a test market version of that.
Yeah.
Like just create one that's called The Factory.
Yeah. That reminds me of that marketing scheme that Payless did some years ago that they opened up. Was it in New York?
I forget where it was, but
that it was like they opened up a very like mock fancy boutique.
Right.
And they had
like no name or
they made up a name.
Yeah.
It was like a French name. And then the shoes were all labeled that, and people went, they invited like fashion influencers and all that. Like, oh, look at these new shoes from this like exclusive designer. Right. And the shoes were like, $800-900. And all the influencers were like, oh my God, we love this. Oh, look at how chic. Oh my God, look at that. And then they were like, all Payless shoes.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah. But that's the world we live in. Not now, always. But I think that now it's more so because, again, as we've always said, social media is not reality. Mm-hmm. And you can create anything. I mean, we've seen influencers out there who it's like, I look at their numbers and I'm like, but what are people following you for?
Yeah.
Because you don't do anything. And not even like a Kardashian doesn't do anything. Like you really don't do anything. Like there's no content here. There's nothing entertaining.
Yeah, and then they'll go and open up an OnlyFans. But anyway.
At least then they'll be doing something.
Yeah, well, maybe not.
Listen, they'll be doing something more than what they're doing right now.
Just call it The Factory. That was great.
Just call it The Factory.
Anyway, are you
why do you keep having so many like things pop up?
I just opened up my phone and I didn't have it on mute. I'm sorry, listeners.
Oh, you're so inconsiderate to our listeners.
Happy birthday to Smurfette. La 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 la.
Is it her birthday?
No, but that reminds me of the episode of The Smurfs where it was the first time I realized, well, not realized, but the first time I noticed that they don't sing Happy Birthday on TV.
Oh, yes.
Because they started, it was the one where, an episode where Smurfette was queen for a day in Smurf Village, and then it kind of went to her head. Well, to Brainy's head. And then at the end, they go, Happy Birthday. And then right when they're going to finish Happy Birthday,
right,
the Father Time's like thing goes out of whack, so it becomes daylight. And then they start singing "Happy Birthday to Smurfette." La la la. But that was a really long explanation. I think we should go to our final Cawy. It's time for our final Cawy. The holidays are here, and it's time for all of our favorite Cuban traditions. Lechon en la caja china, crema de vie, all the flan. And this holiday season, make Cawy Lemon-Lime part of your celebration. For 75 years, this refreshingly crisp soda has used the same exact formula since its creation in Cuba. O sea, you can't get more Cuban tradition than Cawy Lemon-Lime. Así que, this holiday season, make sure to include the authentically Cuban taste of Cawy Lemon-Lime in all of your fiestas navideñas. Find Cawy Lemon-Lime in stores now. It's a long day. I'm super tired. My brain is not functioning correctly. It's time for our last Cawy of the desert. So this week we're gonna keep it short and simple, but sad. We are gonna both give our last Cawy to Matthew Perry.
Yeah.
To life, at least, they always say you should be judged by what you put out in the world. And he put out a lot of happiness and laughter, which is what the world always needs and what we always need.
Damn right.
And, then he tried to help people, that were suffering like he was with his, issues. So, alas, refreshment for him in his honor.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, again, talent, humor, and tried to at least, use his powers for good, unlike so many people in this world.
Can it be any more sadder?
No, but But can it be any more refreshing than a Cawy Lemon-Lime?
I mean,
It's pretty refreshing.
anything more refreshing than that is just having the straight out lime,
It's in the middle of like a spring.
I guess.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Anyway, everybody,
All
next
right.
week I will be more rested.
Yes.
We hope you all listened, laughed, and learned.
Maybe not, because, well, we've got a pop-up this Saturday, Pim Pam Pollo, at the History Miami Museum.
Yes.
And then next Friday, for those of you who haven't seen it, we're going to be doing a ticketed event with Martha of Miami at her event space, La Sala. So that's a ticketed event. Check it out online. And then we've got, Lord, after that, we've got another one at Heritage Fuego. And then we've got at New Era, we're doing a Fiesta in the Park here in the Gables. I mean, I'm tired already just talking about it, but we are going to be absolutely busy this month. So there's no excuses. There's no excuses for not coming
and come and try our really, really hot sauce. That isn't
that
hot enough.
That apparently is not hot enough. I don't know.
So,
I don't know.
Everybody, we hope you listen, laughed, and learned. Remember to grab your croqueta, your pastelito, and your cawy. And thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Welcome to November.
Yes. All right. Bye. Pero Let Me Tell You is co-hosted by Darian Borges and Ismaeliano, produced by Ismaeliano, and our theme, Pero Let Me Tell You Freestyle, is composed by Michael Angelo Lomlaplex, the official gay guy. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes.